Great. Thank you very much, Leslie. This is Sarah Milenich, the Director of Marketing and Sales for SQFI, and I would like to tell you a couple of events and things we have going on with SQFI. First, I'm going to talk about our SQF Information Days coming up. We have actually 3 in the United States and 1 in Canada. Lancaster, Austin, Texas, and Schaumburg before the Food Safety Consortium. That's going to be held November 12th. The SQF Information Day is a day-long face-to-face informational seminar that's designed to introduce food suppliers at any level to the food chain to the benefits of food safety and quality certification. Our Information Day attendees will leave with new insights, connections, and a clear understanding of how they can implement a food safety and quality program that best fits the needs of their businesses and the needs of their customers. For more information about attending or sponsoring one of our Information Days, you can visit our website and click on the events page or contact me directly. Our SQFI newsletter. In case you haven't heard, SQFI now communicates to our stakeholders via a monthly newsletter, which we send out in the middle of the month. With our ever-increasing number of events, training classes, and program developments, we found it's necessary to change up our communication strategy and condense our information into a monthly newsletter. This was a strategic decision that we made to condense our communications, to send fewer emails, and take more of a thought leadership role in the industry. Each month we focus on a different theme. However, we make sure to include all pertinent information about what's going on in our world at SQFI and to the SQF program. To sign up for our newsletter, you can visit our website, sqfi.com, and enter your name and email to the website pop-up that comes up on the screen. SQF Auditor and Systems Training Class. We have a list of SQF training courses that are taking place over the next month across the globe. As you can see, we have a variety of regional courses on auditing SQF systems, as well as 1 more professional update left this year. We encourage all prospective SQF auditors and SQF professionals to sign up as soon as possible for one of the listed course dates to reserve your seats as they fill up fast. Again, check out the events page for updates on courses and training. Lastly, don't forget that our annual conference this year is October 23rd through the 25th, in Atlanta, Georgia. The SQF conference is designed and developed by your peers in the food safety industry and provides a unique opportunity to strengthen your SQF skill set and connect you with your food safety peers and enhance your professional career. I'd also like to point out that we have a new training class coming up this year at the conference. It's the Fundamentals Training Class. This course is ideal for those small to medium businesses that are interested in creating a culture of food safety and implementing an effective written food safety plan and good industry practice systems. We'll teach you how to develop, implement, and maintain fundamental food safety requirements and prepare you for what it takes to eventually fully implement a food safety management system that's benchmarked to GFSI. For more information about attending the conference or training opportunities, you can visit our conference page at sqfconference.com or myself directly at smilenich@sqfi.com. And if you have any questions regarding any items that you see on the webinar or regarding implementing a program or just want to reach out and say hello, here are the contacts at SQF that you can take advantage of. Now I am going to pass the mic over to Derek Hannum, who is with ReposiTrak, and they are today's sponsor for our Learning Lunch webinar. Derek?
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. Good day, everybody. What a pleasure it is to join our partners from SQF on this webinar. I'm really looking forward to it personally. We're proud of our association with SQF. We're the technology backbone, we like to say, for SQF and the SQF database, but also you may know us as the leading compliance automation tool in the market today. So we're particularly excited about the introduction of the SQF Fundamentals Program, as it aligns very well with our focus for small and medium-sized suppliers and emerging brands in the market, helping them to create more modern, sophisticated food quality and safety programs. And in that pursuit, oftentimes a records management automation solution is in order. And so for those of you who, as you start to migrate to a more sophisticated food quality and safety program, want to talk a little bit more how you can manage all your supplier compliance documents and all your food safety and quality documents, which can not only help you streamline your operation and create great efficiencies for you, but reduce your risk and also help you perform better on your audits, we'd love to talk to you. So please reach out to us if you have any interest in speaking to us about ReposiTrak at repositrack.com. Or you can see the number here at the bottom right, 888-842-5465. You can see a few of the benefits of us working with ReposiTrak, and we'd love to talk to you if you have some interest in automating your records and compliance management. Thanks again to our partners at SQF for letting us be part of the webinar, and I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, everyone. My name is... Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
No, go ahead, Chris. I was just going to introduce you. Go ahead.
Hey, everyone. My name's Chris Sinclair, and thank you for tuning in. This is the new SQF Fundamentals Program. We're going to talk about how we partnered the Global Markets Program and the new SQF Fundamentals Program. Today, your speakers are Melody Guh. She was the compliance manager at SQF, so she's really well-versed in SQF, but now she moved on to Kestrel Consulting. She's a senior consultant there, and she provides consulting for GFSI, food safety, FSMA compliance, and other general food safety solutions. I'll be speaking as well. My name's Chris Sinclair, and I'm the current SQFI compliance manager. I took the compliance program where Melody left off, and I oversee the application of the SQF code from the sites up to the certification bodies as well as the auditors. So today, what we're going to talk about first, I'm going to go through what the SQF Fundamentals Program is. We'll talk about some of the requirements and how it's different than our current food safety program. Also, we'll go through some of the benefits of the program as well. And then I'll hand it over to Mel, and she will talk about how to get started with food safety, some obstacles she sees when she's helping people build their programs, and also some resources that are available out there, free and other ones that she has. So first, I would like to introduce everyone to the SQF technical team. On the top there, you have Leanne Chuboff. She is the VP of Technical Affairs. She is in charge of all things technical. Then we have Christy Gwizwinski. She's a senior technical manager, and anything to do with training, she's the guru on. And so if you have any questions on training, she'd be a good contact for that. Joining us last year was Jeanette Litzchevsky. She's a technical specialist, and she also helps a lot with the compliance program. Bill McBride is our Asia Pacific representative. Frank Schurz is our Canada representative, and yours truly, Chris Sinclair, I'm the compliance manager. So, why are we here? I took this article from Food Safety News, and it's about a site shutting down due to not understanding. This creamery shut down because they did not understand the significance of food safety. I circled a quote there, and they admitted that they weren't sure, what was needed and the significance of environmental sampling, so they just didn't have an idea of food safety and the implications of everything. So this is why we're here. The SQF Fundamentals Program is for these small suppliers who do not understand and who want to build their program. So what we're trying to do is instill food safety habits early on, because all sites want to grow, and creating these good habits is easier to do when you're a new small supplier with few employees and not when you have grown and you have over 100 employees. So this is what we did with the SQF Fundamentals Program, and this is why we made it. So this is the Edition 8 structure that we released in January. So when we rolled out this program, the program was called SQF Food Safety Fundamentals. And so we've always had a fundamentals program, but it wasn't catered to certain industries, and it was just generic for all the industries within one, sort of how 7.2 was. So what we did from 7.2 to Edition 8, we separated it out and made it industry specific. So we went from one code to 5 different codes for food safety, and we also split out the quality code as well. So we took that, we always had it was initially called Level 1. Now, in Edition 8, when we rolled that out, it was the SQF Food Safety Fundamentals. Now what we did is we broke that up even more into 4 new codes. This was released in June. So you have the SQF Fundamentals for manufacturing and the SQF Fundamentals for primary production. And these were broken down into even more specific, basic, and intermediate. So if you have no experience in food safety or you don't know where to start, basic would be a good place to begin. And if you have some programs in place and you just want to improve on your programs, then you could start with intermediate. It's up to you. Everything else stayed the same, but we're here to talk about the fundamentals program. So we have, like I said, primary production and manufacturing. Primary is the green one, manufacturing is blue. Basic and intermediate. So they're both based off the Global Markets Program. They help with regulatory compliance. And on the basic side, it's HACCP-based, so it's only part of a HACCP program. It's not the whole thing. And then you go into intermediate, which is also based off the Global Markets Program, but it takes all the elements in basic and builds on that and adds a food safety management system. And then it adds the additional HACCP requirements following Codex. And then these build into our food safety codes for Edition 8. And you see there the primary production and manufacturing, and those are our GFSI benchmark codes. They take intermediate plus Codex HACCP, and it's an accredited certification. And if you wanted to take it a step further, the last step would be our quality code. This would be audited in addition to the food safety code, integrated quality management system, and it builds on the food safety code, and it has the HACCP to manage the quality threats. So it still uses HACCP, but instead of food safety, it's for those quality threats. So let's look at the basic and intermediate codes a little bit more in depth. So we created these codes for small to medium enterprises. These are for the guys who are just getting started and want to get on the retail shelves. Retailers want, their suppliers, no matter what size they are, to have some sort of food safety program in place. And these were built for those people who are trying to get on those shelves. So, like I said, there are different codes for manufacturing and primary production food sectors. And each of these codes are broken up into 2 different approaches, basic and intermediate. So that basic code focuses on the implementation of the code requirements and less about documentation. It's more of showing what you're doing for food safety. And then within the intermediate code, there's an introduction to that documentation part, but implementation is still the main focus. So what we did is we conducted a gap from our past fundamentals program and to the GFSI Global Markets Program, and made sure we met all those requirements, because that's what a lot of retailers were currently using. And then we took it a step further and reached out to the retailers and said, you know, what's important to you? What do you use for your current small supplier programs? And we took their feedback and public review, and this is the codes that were developed using all of that information. So all the technical requirements in the fundamental codes meet the requirements of the GFSI Global Markets Program. And again, as I mentioned before, it's a stepwise approach. So it's the two-level stepwise approach. It uses the fundamental program, which you can start at or integrate your food safety standards into your existing practices while creating a pathway to achieving that food safety GFSI benchmark code. So we also built some specialized training to help you get started, because one thing that was lacking was training for these small suppliers. You know, you can make the code, but unless you give them the tools to help build their program, they're not going to be able to get very far. So we have a three-pronged approach to training. The first one is instructor-led. That's knowledge sharing and problem solving among industry peers. You get that immediate expert advice and guidance, activities used that you have the activities that are used to help aid in understanding. We have online courses, which are easily accessible if you have a laptop and some Wi-Fi. You don't need to travel. It's self-paced. You can go back if you're not sure. You can go back and re-look at lessons. And there's knowledge checks to make sure you're understanding what you're reading as you go along. And then finally, something that we're all excited about are the tip sheets. Christy, who I mentioned earlier, she had this great idea for tip sheets. They're self-directed learning. They're accessible and approachable. They're not daunting. It kind of walks you through the steps. They're self-guided, low cost, and they allow for progressive development of the food safety system. And you can learn as much or as little as needed and can be accessed and online right now on the SQFI.com website under our fundamentals page. We have, I think, around 15 of them now, and they're amazing. I wish I had them when I was in the industry. They really help you take a step back and realize that these things aren't as daunting as they seem when you're looking at a code with over 100 elements. I mean, they're really great. I have an example of one right here. This is, an example of the getting started tip sheet. This is the first one. This is the main question we get at SQF. How do I get started? So on the top, they're numbered. So this is tip sheet number 1. This is what you can use to understand what the steps are to getting started and getting to a certificate. So the top part is the tip sheet number. Then you have the title, getting started, steps to SQF certification. There's key phrases in there, definitions, the learning objectives, and then also the process steps. So it breaks it down step by step, how to look at things, where to start. And it's a really great tool, especially for people who are brand new to SQF or brand new to certification and food safety. These are really great. So what are some advantages to the SQF Fundamentals program? The program is flexible to fit each site's needs. So, like I said, you can start at basic. If you have nothing, you will want to start at basic. But if you have a few things in place, you can look at it and say, I can do intermediate. And then you can kind of set goals for yourself how to get to food safety. So another thing is we took out the desk audit. The requirement for desk audit for initial certification was removed, but it still can be conducted if you think it's something that you would benefit from. So it's not mandatory for initial certification, but talk to your certification body, and if you would benefit from it, they'll be able to still conduct the desk audit. There's no score. This is another thing that we think will be helpful for these small suppliers, because there's no score given at the end of the certification or recertification audit, but some retailers require a score. So you can work with your certification body and add on an option for scoring that uses, the food safety scoring method. That way you'll still meet those retailer requirements. So the goal, why we took the score out, the goal was to place emphasis on the level of nonconformance and the number of deficiencies issued. So that way the site doesn't feel like they have to meet this number. They can be open with their auditor. They can discuss issues they're having. They don't have to try to hide things or, pass that audit. They can use it as audits were developed to, assess compliance, so you can build your program instead of just trying to get that certificate. So a site will pass and receive a certificate when all nonconformances have been closed out. There are still surveillance audits, but that's when you receive 2 majors, a major or 4 more minors, and then 14 or more minor nonconformances. We also got rid of the unannounced audits. So for the SQF Fundamentals program, there are no more unannounced audits. Again, this is to allow sites to, not be scared of the auditor, but rather use it as a way to build their programs. So that's something that was removed for this program. And then we also wanted to make it where it was more cost effective. So we reached out to the certification bodies and said, what would make you want to use this program and, for small suppliers? So one of the things was to increase the audit window. So for food safety, currently your audit window is plus or minus 30 days from your anniversary date, which is the last day of your initial audit. So we added 15 days on each side of that. That way, there's more flexibility for the CB when scheduling audits and, having available auditors. That way, if there's an auditor in the area, instead of them having to switch their schedule around, they can have an auditor go and visit a site. Also, another thing we did was, decrease the audit duration. That way, the auditor doesn't have to spend as much time there, and that, again, will lower the cost to the small suppliers. Another thing we did was we allowed auditors that are registered with SQF can conduct any SQF fundamental audit as long as they're in that industry sector. So if I'm an auditor for manufacturing, dairy, I could also audit under the SQF Fundamentals Program for manufacturing of dietary ingredients or ready-to-eat meal, something like that. That way, there's more auditors available, and it also helps the auditors get audit hours so they can, build their resume as well. And then that's another reason CBs would want to use this program. And it would benefit everyone because it keeps the costs low, and it also allows the auditors to grow their portfolio as well. So these are, the main advantages to the SQF program. And it's something that we're really excited about, and we think will benefit these small and medium-sized manufacturers. So I have a poll that I would like to ask everyone. And if you could just use the poll question on the right-hand side of your screen. So as a small supplier, what's your biggest obstacle? A, don't know where to start. So you just, you need that tip sheet number 1. You don't know what to do. You don't know where to start. It's too daunting for you. B, I don't have the resources, time, money, or people. C, don't have the expertise and or understanding. D, management is not committed. Or E, other. So if you guys could go ahead and answer the poll question, I'll give a couple minutes to allow everyone to think about this a little bit, and let's see what everyone has to say. Okay, I think we're going to close the poll now. There's, about 80 of us out there, so hopefully everyone had some time to think about this and fill everything in. So let's see what the results were. I know I used to work for a small company as well, and sometimes it was difficult to have management understand, food safety and why it was important. So I would always, forward examples of recalls. So don't have the expertise. Looks like it was the main response. The one with I don't have the resources, time, money, or people. If I were a buyer, that's something that would concern me, because I wouldn't want to buy from someone who doesn't put emphasis on, food safety. Don't know where to start. Well, you're in luck. Our next speaker, as well as don't have the expertise, you can always use a consultant. Our next speaker, Melody, she is a consultant with Kestrel, and, like I said, she's well-versed in SQF and knows the program really well. So I'm going to hand it over to her so we can talk about where we shall start.
I'm on mute. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Melody, and as Chris introduced, I used to work for SQF, and after I left SQF, I was the Deputy QA Director for Lidl US, who is a German retailer, and now I joined the Kestrel management as a senior consultant. So with both Lidl and Kestrel, I'm very fortunate that I get to work with a lot of small suppliers throughout the supply chain to help them develop their SQF program. So thank you very much, SQF Institute, for having me today, that I get a chance to share some of the experience, some of the tips that I see with other small business with you all today on the call. So without any further ado, first question that we've always asked ourselves throughout today's webinar, where shall we start? When every time I go out to a small business or companies, that's the first question I get to answer. Where shall we start? SQF program, obviously, it's a very comprehensive food safety program, and it includes a lot of detailed requirements. The code itself is 100 pages. So where should we start? First, I always tell our clients that don't be scared. Actually, is the food safety program, the SQF code, is a very good tool for you to start to really look back your process, your operations. It's a series of food safety protocols that help you to streamline your operations, to strengthen your production lines, and sustain your business operation. And also another tip I always give out is think with a food safety mindset. When you hear food safety program, HACCP plan, senior management commitment, all those terminologies, all in all, keep in mind that they're all going to help you at the end to produce products to sustain your process. So because of a small business or entrepreneur business, we are actually at a very good position to start everything right, to have the food safety culture, to have the food mindset in mind. So taking food safety into consideration to prevent the hazard types into every decision that you made in the business. So it might help you. Sometimes if a small business, if we are struggling on prioritizing things, a food safety mindset might help you start where you can to decide your next step. So here are some advantages that we see with small business, and then now even it's very helpful with SQF to have the SQF fundamentals. So first, it's the food safety and cultural and morale that SQF insists on.
As Chris mentioned in his section, it's always SQF's intention to develop the code to help business, to help food manufacturers to grow wherever you are or no matter how big the facility size is. And because being an entrepreneur business or a startup, during the journey, the culture and the morale is relatively easy for you to set. And then also, on the other hand, the senior management commitment is also one of the advantages that I see from our clients. So because of a small business and a startup, everybody works as one team. I even remember when I was at Lidl, our goal is to get the quality out there, get the safety out there for private label products. So to convince your boss or the CEO, it's relatively easy for you as your boss or CEO or COO, all the C levels, we're working together as a team. So with all their support and the resources to start a food safety program with the fundamental, it is relatively easy. So it's not as scary as you heard, oh, I'm going to develop an SQF system out there. The last thing is changes are relatively easy to adapt. Big corporate has big struggles. Small business, we have our own advantages because we have things starting up. Everything is changing every day to start a business. As I said it before, think food safety in a mindset. Consider food safety hazards. Within every decision you make, then these are, there are any changes need to be made in order to promote food safety cultures. Those changes we see, they are relatively easy to adapt in the small facilities. Of course, because we are a starting up business, and then there are some struggles that we see out there. And then from the poll, we obviously see that most of struggle is we don't understand, there's no expertise, we don't understand where to start, there's no resources, and those are the common struggles that I actually see from other clients that we work with. Another struggle I want to point it out, and I have tip afterwards, is lacking records and documentation awareness. So every time we walk in a facility and we talk to the QA people or the management level people working in the company, after a couple of times you talk with them, and then you will realize they do have a food safety mindset. They do have all the resources, practices in place. The thing is, they can't show you. Oftentimes they were like, yeah, I'm doing this. I inspect all the incoming goods I'm receiving. I check the temperature if they are perishable products. Then my next question normally is, okay, can you show me some records? And they were like, oh, do I have to document everything? Yes, you do. So with the SQF or any other FDA government requirements, one big thing is document everything to demonstrate. And I'm going to explain the strength of how good the records is going to help you in the entire food safety program implementation. So lacking records and documentation awareness is often we found people are struggling with. Hard to prioritize project tasks and budget. So that's kind of tie along with the poll question Chris given out with no resources. So with the limited resources that we have in entrepreneur business, how are we going to prioritize those project tasks with the time we have? So this, I hope after the presentation, we help you to smoothing out some of those struggles that you have. The one-man team. So it's kind of related to the resource, but one-man team is also two sides with it. Yes, we are lacking team members compared to those big or medium-sized corporate. However, because of we are having a lot of hats on us. One time I was talking to a CEO of a small business, and he said, Melody, today I am a maintenance guy. Tomorrow I'm a sanitation guy. Right now I'm running it on my own. But this, if we utilize the resources right, actually we can maximize the amount of, maximize and take full advantage of the resource that we currently have, or the team that we currently have. So we've been working with multiple relatively small business in different products, with different products and product categories. So here are a couple tips that we generated, and I would like to share with you guys. Feel free to ask questions, and Chris and I, we will answer all of them all at the end. So the very first one is map out the process, and the follow-up is be familiar with the operation and hazards along with it, and then understand your supply chain as a big picture of who are your vendors, and get everyone involved at your business. Designate one project leader for this entire program. Keep everything documented and recorded. Utilize free third-party resources. So what do all those mean? First thing first, mapping out the process. If you get a chance to take a look at the SQF Fundamental Program, the code, although it's just released, truly it has a lot of components in it. It has a lot requirements in it. But if dig down to one thing, you got to understand your production very well. Be familiar with your processing. This means you got to, from raw materials receiving to the finished products that leave your facility, one step by step, as detailed as you can, or as it can be, map it out on paper, discuss with your team, and see if you miss anything. And then once you have this process mapped out, it will be easy for you to understand. It will be easy for you to understand better from a different perspective. Step out from the operation, but more think in food safety mindset. So within this process, where is the weakness? Where can weakness be controlled? How can we control it? And when is a good time to control and monitor each process steps? So all of these questions can be answered after you mapping out your process and get familiar with your process. I understand the very basic level of SQF Fundamental. It's not requiring the hazard plan just yet, but once you have the process mapped out and going to intermediate of the SQF Fundamental, then this process is actually going to help you to develop your hazard plan, which is the hazard analysis critical control point. The hazard types, I would suggest you to consider what FDA is requiring for their newly FEMA requirements. FDA now requires us to think the hazards in 5 different types of categories: physical, chemical, biological, radiological, and intentional adulteration for economic gain. So these 5 types of hazards you can always keep in mind when you're reviewing your processing map. Another good tip that I want to share with you is that once the process is mapped out, it's highly recommended that you discuss the process with your entire team, regardless how many people you have. Because food safety ultimately is not just QA's responsibility. Everyone can contribute, and from their own perspective, it will optimize the outcome of reviewing reviewing and considering potential hazards from your own process. Next thing is understand the supply chain. So once we have incoming goods come to your facility, and I remember at the time when I was working for Lian, we always say garbage in, garbage out. So we got to control what's coming into your facility. we got to know where all your ingredients are coming from. So this is very important to set the stone and a baseline for your food safety program. Keep your supply chain transparent and documented. You got to know who you call if there are something wrong or if something happened to your products. How to contact your vendors and then understand your vendor's safety control. It will be good and always it's recommended that they have a third-party certification. But thinking now more and more people are getting into food safety and get into food business, it's very important that you understand your suppliers' control methods for their products that they supply to you. Get everyone involved. As I said, QA, quality control, food safety is not a one-department job. And in order to promote a food safety culture and morale at the company, it is very important everyone is on board that this journey is going to start at your business. Normally, I would recommend a town hall meeting to involve everybody, this from senior management level all the way down to your line workers. Not only because not only that this is good, everybody understanding, okay, here is why we are here. We are doing this for food safety. It's not for certification. It's not for okay, we just do this for get the business, but we got to change everybody's mindset and thinking that we are doing this because we want to protect our own brand, we want to protect our own company name, and we want to serve safe products to our consumers or our family and friends. And also, on the other hand, another reason a town hall meeting is really nice is that you get your feedback as a project leader or as an SQF practitioner, because line workers, they are expertise in their in your operation processing steps. They know, they work on this daily. So they can tell you something you might not think of. And then this will ultimately make your food safety program very practical and sustained. Because for SQF program and implementation, it's not only important that you have everything documented. You can make the paper as pretty as you can. The most important thing is the execution, how we maintain the implementation of the SQF, how we execute it, how we make it practical so that it's not an obstacle to the operation. These are really something it will be beneficial to you if you have a town hall meeting with your employee. Last but not least, a town hall meeting can help you is make your job easier down the road to implement SQF, because you know, and everybody on the line, I'm sure you're familiar with SQF or with food safety. We have terminologies. We have certain terms like validation, like hazard. It will be nice that everybody is on board and understanding what does it mean, what's the basic knowledge, and later it's easy for you to communicate procedures, communicate programs for them for further implementation. Designate one project leader. With SQF, this person is called SQF practitioner, and then it's very, very important from the very beginning. After you map out the process, you have one project leader designated. If we think about this whole thing as a project that we all work on within the company, a leader is key, and it is very important in particular. So for this, besides what SQF is requiring to be an SQF practitioner, this person is good to have also the company operational experience and knowledge as well. So he can serve as a liaison between operation, between management, and between production plant. This person can drive the entire project according to different timeline, and if you're running different timeline or a tight timeline, this project leader can help you can help you to complete that project with less obstacles. And I just got a question whether we will have this slide shared. I think we can share the PDF version to the audience afterwards. Yeah, we will share the slides after the webinar. Also, with the project leader, the key role for this person is to drive the project, to solve the problem, to coordinating and prioritize the work. Once we started this journey, more and more things will happen, and more things that they might not see before, it might happen afterwards. So now this SQF practitioner becomes more important, that based on his or her knowledge, he can prioritize the projects and tasks in between plan level and management level, so we can optimize the entire process. Communicating with all levels of employees. As I said, to implement SQF program, it's not only requiring the knowledge, but also a large amount of teamwork. It's a truly reflection of a team achievement, a company achievement. So communication becomes extremely important. How we communicate, what to communicate to get the resources for QA department. Then this person can serve as that bridge to gap the two levels. Keep everything documented and recorded. As I mentioned, a lot of time after we talked with our clients, they will realize and they say, oh, Melody, we are actually doing this. We just don't know it means this. Oftentimes, and then I'm truly sure and confident once the business is established, I'm sure you're doing something to protect your products, to make sure the products are safe. So this is what I normally tell our clients is what we're doing here is we utilize SQF code as a guidance, and then we translate what we are currently doing to the procedure and programs on the paper. This is a very famous or familiar statement that you might heard a lot from SQF. Say what you do what you say. So say what you do, put everything that you want to do or you are currently already doing on paper. And then do what you say for those new SOPs that we developed. We do it accordingly. How we demonstrate, we keep records. And the records, this is also a common question that I get a lot, like how often do I need to keep the records? Shall I keep it daily? Shall I keep it weekly? What's the call? So this is totally up to you, depends on the risk of your products, the complexity of your processing lines, and also how many hazards, how many control points, how many key steps that you have throughout your process. Based on risk assessment, the frequency of document records can be daily, weekly, biweekly, monthly, or annually. But the important things to keep in mind is whenever you say if it's a weekly or if it's a daily, we're going to demonstrate a daily record and or a weekly record. Do exactly what you say you're going to do. Besides that, the records and documentation, they are for demonstrating that this is your SOPs, train your employees. All of these data are actually the best data for yourself. Starting up the business and these data, if we can all capture the data from the very beginning of your business start, it is actually a precious data for you to continue to improve your food safety program. As always, the key goal of SQF program, SQF themselves did a great job hearing back from their stakeholders, the feedback, and continues modify their code to be more practical, helping our food industry. For us as a small business, these data help us to continue to improve ourselves as well. Are we implementing the right process? Are we implementing the right practical procedures? Do they even work? All these questions can be answered by your own data. It's fascinating, actually, when you, after a year or two, if once you implement, for example, a temperature control program, and then you see all the data back then. Or another good example is your testing, micropathogen basic environmental monitoring testing. When you study your own data, then it's a good opportunity for you to learn, shall we increase the frequency? Shall we reduce the testing frequency because we have a full control? And our data, 5 years data, is showing us we have no positive results from any of the pathogens. Then it's also another good proof for you, or a good reference for you, that you can reduce some of the investment in testing to your other programs. So it's really good that you get to learn your own data. Another thing, it's good to keep all the records, everything, what you implement on site is for trend study analysis. This is also the initial, when SQF compliance program started, is we keep asking ourselves, how did we do? What are the audit results out there? Then same thing with small business, with your own business. See how we're doing. For example, customer complaint, do a trend analysis, see what is the biggest complaint, why that reason is happening. Go back to your SOP. This is oftentimes I told about our clients is that your data and your process, it's kind of like the beginning of the circle of your food safety system and the end of your food safety system, because you learn from your records and you go back to your first step saying, okay, shall I make any improvement or adjustment to our process? Shall I make any adjustment to our programs? So those are also good benefits of keeping everything recorded. Review whether methods or program implemented are working effectively. Because we are all starting up, resources are already limited. We don't want to lose control of anything we're implemented on site, or if it's not even working. So to prioritize your resources or to make your program more effectively, data, records, that's also another thing that can help you. And learning from the data, then we can improve or adjust the efficiency of the program that you implemented on site. It is a strong support and evidence whenever there is an accident or whenever there is an emergency. If something happened unexpected, and things will happen, the records and documentation is your own, a strong evidence for yourself to protect yourself, and then to go back, dig into the root cause why this happened. So all in all, I can't emphasize enough how important documentation and the records are for a business who is going to implement SQF system. Especially for small business, we are in a very good position. We can start everything organized, documented, and recorded for our future study or for our future reference. Utilize free third-party resources. As Chris also mentioned, awareness of food safety is out there. More and more people are starting their business in food, and food safety becomes one of the key things in their business discussion. And then actually there are a lot of the resources out there already for you to take advantage of. A great thing is SQF has the Food Safety Fundamental just released and the cheat sheet. I really wish I could have that way earlier when we were helping our clients develop their SQF program. To be honest, it is a struggle at the very beginning. But again, as I said, there's no need to be scared, because that is actually a very, very helpful tool for you to streamline your process to start your business. FDA, USDA guidance, there are a lot guidance from the government on those hot food safety topics. For example, the Listeria for environmental monitoring, both USDA and FDA has the guidance. FDA has a very good resource guidance on hazard considered for different type of products. They list out all the products that FDA is regulated, and then they give you the guidance on what are the what are the chemical hazards that you should take into consideration for those different type of products. Also, another good resource for FDA is the Food Defense Plan. They have a tool actually provided for food manufacturers to develop their Food Defense Plan. And it's like it contains around 100 questions. That you follow the questions, answer the questions, you get your first food defense report, which is very helpful for small business as a startup, as a base to continuously improve your food defense plan. SQF learning lunches, I've been like an ambassador of this webinar, but it's a really helpful webinars with free knowledge and people coming from different industry to share their experience and what they see. It's good that we learn from other people, like lesson learned, so we can avoid it to our business and within our business. Free webinars and third-party consulting services. So myself now, I'm a senior consultant, and then we can help you with your food safety program, with your trainings. And then there are a lot of consulting services out there that you can look for. Let people help you. Open up to the global, I will say, because now the GFSI, the SQF, everybody with the technology, everybody is on food safety in food industry, and a lot of people with the experience, they are willing to share their experience and knowledges out there. So look for it, and then those will be really help you throughout your entire implementation. So I believe this was my last tip slide, and then overall, if we really want to use one sentence to answer the question, where shall we start? I really recommend you to go back and mapping out your own process today. As detailed as it can be, as I said, and then step by step, thinking in a food safety mindset, consider all those hazards potentially, and then streamline your process to ultimately develop a very sustained and a practical food safety program on your own. It's your own program, so really own it and develop and continuously improve it with your daily business operation. So, again, I know I've been talking a lot, but I really want to take 1 minute to really introduce who is Kestrel. So Kestrel Management is a consulting firm that we help business to develop their food safety program. The reason why we pick Kestrel, which is a really little bird, is that they are targeted and loyal to the partner. So we provide sustained food safety solutions to any of the food challenges that you have, and we also do on-site training to use your own business case as case study or as the activities for our trainings. So those are our strengths for our company. And myself, my contact is on screen. Feel free to email me with your questions or feedbacks or comments or anything you want to discuss with me. Then I'm also always happy to help. And if you have any questions about SQF Fundamentals, feel free to reach out to Kristen. So I guess this concludes my portion. We can take questions. And I will get back to the SQF crew.
Thanks, Melody. We did get a few questions in that we can talk about. The first one is, where do packaging and distribution fit into the SQF fundamentals? So I can answer this one. So right now we have two programs, one for manufacturing and one for primary production. However, we are opening it up to the packaging and distribution industries. However, they would use the system elements for basic or intermediate for manufacturing, and then the module 12 and 13 that's in the food safety code for packaging and distribution. So that's the approach we're taking right now. And if we see that, there's a need for us to develop, individual fundamental codes for the packaging and distribution industry, we're, open to creating those as well. We had another one that came in that says, hi, I work for a distribution center already, SQF level 2, but I think it would be better for us to switch to the fundamentals program. Is this possible? So this is possible. However, you do want to double check with your buyer requirements because they may ask for a GFSI benchmark, to be audited against the GFSI benchmark code. And SQF Fundamentals is not GFSI benchmark. And that's all the questions I got. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to type them in, and Melody and I can answer them. Dave Dawson asked if there is a standard format for SQF SOPs. No. Simple answer is no. We don't have a standard format. You can really develop them how you want. You can use the SQF numbering system, or you can create your own, whichever is easiest. But we do not have, a standard format out there for SOPs. That's something I'm assuming Melody would have available when she's consulting with these companies, is maybe a format that they tend to use, but we really want to keep it open so you can put it into the format that best fits the needs of your company.
Yeah, I agree. And then actually, it's really good if you have your own numbering system or your own format. The key goal for SQF is the content compliance. So the format, it's really, there's no specific requirements on that. And if you wanted some template, I can provide you some or advices on the template. What are the key components can be included in your SOPs?
Any more questions from anyone? Okay, I got some more. Laura Gonzalez asked, she lost audio for a second. Is level 2 GFSI benchmark? So we don't go by levels anymore. This is from Randall Stevens. Now it's the SQF Food Safety Code for manufacturing, primary production, packaging, and storage and distribution. And yes, those are GFSI benchmark. The Fundamentals Program, which was formerly level 1, is not GFSI benchmarked. Where are the tip sheets on the SQF website? That's a great question. So if you go to the main page, there's a section that says SQF Fundamentals. You'll want to click on that, and then we have the list of the tip sheets on there right now. So I recommend going to SQFI.com, and then on the left-hand side, a little bit below the top tab, you'll see SQF Fundamentals, and click on that, and we have a lot of resources, the fundamental codes and everything is located there.
Hi, Chris. I got a couple questions in. One is, how can I develop a food safety program? So that's from Solomon. So it's a very general question, but the food safety program, my tip to you is if you really want to start using SQF Fundamental as a guidance, and that's where you can start a food safety program. The program itself, it's a big term because it contains different SOPs, different procedures. The key components I can share now is that you've got to need to have a sanitation program, a maintenance program, a pest control program. So another good resource is always FDA requirements as well. There's CGMP plus the SQF Fundamental. That will give you a very good understanding of what kind of program, food safety program, I'm going to develop. Also, I was trying to summarize a big food safety program into a couple sentences. Again, back to what I just said in the presentation, starting understanding your process and the product characteristics that you're producing at the facility, and then thinking those hazards in your mindset. Ultimate goal for food safety program is to control all the potential risks from those type of hazards to ultimately making sure your products are not potentially contaminated. So as long as your program, including all the approaches to control all the potential hazards, then it's an effective food safety program. So I hope I answered your question, and if you really, I can talk on and on how to develop a food safety program. So feel free to contact me if you want a further explanation. But mapping out your process, consider all those 5 major types of hazard types from your processing and start from there. And then once you started the process, and you will see what I say is that you will get to ask yourself a lot of questions. Oh, wait a minute, I have a potential chemical control here. What shall I do? Shall I clean it? Then shall I call somebody? And then then you get to expand it to sanitation program. You get it to expand it to your supplier management program. So start from your process and expand it from there. I hope I answered your question.
I think you did, Melody. We're getting some more questions in. What are the primary differences and or advantages of SQF to BRC? It seems like a loaded question. So from my perspective, there's, things I've heard about BRC is one, they're prescriptive, where SQF allows you to kind of create your programs that fit the need of your site, as well as we have a relationship with FMI. FMI owns SQFI, and so we really get that input from the retailers. And we use that input when creating, our elements and our sections and, the meat of the code. And that way, the retailers know that their feedback is being used when we develop our code. So I don't know the specifics to BRC, but I do know that, SQF uses retailers' feedback and, isn't as prescriptive. And also, we cover the whole supply chain. So we go from farm to fork. Where BRC only handles the manufacturing side of things. Another question that came in is, what training do I need to get to be the SQF practitioner for a bakery? So there's only one requirement training-wise for SQF practitioner, and that's HACCP training. You need to take a 2-day HACCP training course. We do have implementing SQF training available as well, and that can be taken online or with a training center. And that helps. It's not a requirement, but it does help, ready yourself to become an SQF practitioner and learn about the code and, the elements. Maggie Parker asked any recommendations on how to select a certification body. Yeah, if you look at our tip sheet for getting started, we have some questions you should ask when selecting a CB. You know, they're your partner, certification body in CB, you know, they're your partner in food safety. So, you know, the main question most people ask is how much does it cost? But you'll want to ask, you know, about their auditor training, where they're located, do they have auditors that fit, you know, the industry that you're in. So I recommend going to that tip sheet and getting started. It's tip sheet number 1, and look at what questions that you could ask to, you know, make sure that the CB you're picking fits the needs of your company. I have another question here that says, we are a small-sized processor. Most of our processing operates from third-party manufacturer co-packers, but we still do a couple of repacking and intermediate processing steps. And with storing and distribution, how can I synchronize overall food safety component?
I can help on this one.
You can?
Okay. Yeah. Well, first you can talk from SQF perspective, and then I can answer as well.
No, go ahead, Melody. Feel free.
Oh, yeah. So that's a really good question, actually, because it is a common practice and a common situation that we see a lot from a small business. The short answer or simple answer is get everybody on board. So you definitely need to communicate your expectation and what you want for all your co-manufacturers and the vendors that you work with. As I mentioned, that then this related to your same approach as your supplier and suppliers. Keep everything transparent and everything documented. Just require asking your co-man or co-packer the same expectation that you wanted them to achieve compared to your own business operations. That's the short version, the short answer to your question. I hope I answered your question.
Thanks, Melody. Anyone else have any questions Melody or I can answer for you? One more advantage of SQF that I wanted to point out is that all of our codes are free and available online to download. Fundamentals, the food safety codes, the quality codes, and we also have a lot of free resources as well with the guidance documents and the tip sheets. So that's another thing. If you go to SQFI.com, we have a lot of free resources that really help, you know, get your program started. Or if you have a question on a certain element, our guidance documents are great with, you know, answering what the intent is. So that's just another benefit of the SQF program.
Right, and then another thing I forgot to mention is SQF has a very good tool. It's called SQF Checklist, and we see a lot of suppliers are benefit from it. And then this is also something, a good free third-party resources that you can refer to. It helps your internal audit. It helps your internal check on whether you're in compliance with the SQF fundamental requirements.
Okay, everyone. I think that ends our webinar for today. Again, thank you very much for participating, and the recording of this webinar will be up on our website and our YouTube page probably by the end of this week, if not definitely Monday. If you have any questions for Mel or Chris, feel free to reach out to them directly. But again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.